Hey everyone, and welcome back to Talk Tickers. We're going to be taking a deep dive into Strategy's Q4 2024 earnings call today.
It's a fascinating one.
Yeah, and this is the company formerly known as MicroStrategy, and they've been making some pretty big moves.
Yeah.
With their Bitcoin strategy. So let's just jump right in. Since their last call, they joined the Nasdaq Q100. They brought on some new board members.
Yep.
And of course, they've been stacking those Satoshis like crazy.
They have.
But there's one big change we need to talk about right off the bat. MicroStrategy is no more. They've rebranded to simply Strategy.
Strategy.
That's it.
Strategy, yeah.
Okay, I see what they did there.
It's very simple, very straightforward.
Keeping it short, sweet, to the point.
Yeah.
But why the sudden name change? Did they just get tired of people mispronouncing MicroStrategy?
Well, officially, they cited 3 reasons: simplicity, continuity, and ambition.
Oh, okay.
So think of it as like an evolution, not a revolution.
Yeah.
The shorter name is definitely catchier.
Yes.
But it also really emphasizes their laser focus on Bitcoin. They're not just a software company dabbling in crypto anymore.
Right.
This is their identity now. This is who they are. They are the world's leading Bitcoin treasury.
And they're definitely not shy about it.
No, they are not.
That new logo is a stylized bee. I mean, it's just drenched in this like vibrant orange.
Orange is
It screams Bitcoin.
the color of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's the color of money now.
Louder than a maximalist at a conference.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
I love it. They've even launched a merch store, a store.strategy.com, so fans can literally wear their Bitcoin love on their sleeve.
It's brilliant. It's really tapping into that community enthusiasm, and it's building brand loyalty, which is great.
Totally.
And on top of that, they're going all in on transparency too, which is really cool. Their new website, strategy.com, it's got a live tracker of all the key metrics.
I was just going to say I was checking it out.
Oh, yeah. What do you think?
I mean, share price, market cap, Bitcoin holdings, the whole shebang.
The whole thing. And it's all there. It's all live.
It's all right there for you. That's what I call keeping it real.
Yeah.
Investors, they love that kind of transparency. But hold on a sec.
Yeah.
They haven't completely abandoned their software roots, have they?
Yeah.
I mean, their subscription services saw a pretty impressive 48% year-over-year revenue increase.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That growth is a sign that their transition to the cloud is going really well.
Okay.
Of course, their product license and support revenues are dipping a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's expected as more clients migrate to the cloud. It's all part of the plan.
Makes sense. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the Bitcoin whale in the room.
Oh, yeah.
They went on another massive buying spree in Q4.
They did.
Didn't they?
Huge buying spree. It was impressive. They picked up 218,887 Bitcoins.
287 Bitcoins. 887 Bitcoins.
They took out like $20.5 billion.
Wow.
Yeah.
That brings their total holdings to over 471,000 Bitcoins.
It's incredible.
To put that into perspective, imagine a vault overflowing with more Bitcoin than most countries hold.
It's hard to even fathom.
It's crazy. How on earth are they financing these mega purchases? Are they like taking out loans from Bitcoin whales or something?
Well, they've been very resourceful. They're doing equity offerings, convertible notes, even a new preferred stock that they're calling Strike.
Strike. Interesting.
You're pulling out all the stops to build this Bitcoin empire.
I mean, investors are eating it up. Over $22 billion raised in 2024 alone.
It's amazing. It's a sign of confidence for sure.
They're like the rock stars of the capital markets.
I really are.
Attracting investors who are betting big on their Bitcoin-centric future. Now, their CEO, Michael Saylor, he pointed out something really interesting. Strategy's performance is inherently tied to Bitcoin's volatility.
Yeah, that's a key point.
Doesn't that make them incredibly vulnerable, though?
Well, it's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
Right.
Strategy has consistently been the most volatile stock in the S&P 500.
I mean, how is that possible?
But that's by design. It's not by accident.
Okay.
They see volatility as an opportunity.
So they're surfing the Bitcoin waves.
Exactly. They're riding the waves.
Okay. But I'm still not quite getting how volatility translates into something positive.
So think of it this way. Those massive price swings, they create more opportunities for savvy investors to buy low and sell high.
Oh, okay.
And the data backs this up. Strategy has massive options, trading volume the highest in the S&P 500 relative to its market cap.
Wow.
They're using that volatility to their advantage.
So they're not just passively holding Bitcoin. They're actively playing the market.
They are.
Taking advantage of those wild swings.
Yep. And to track their performance in this crazy volatile environment, they've rolled out 2 new metrics.
Okay, I like it when companies come up with new metrics.
It helps to keep things clear, right?
Oh,
BTC yield and BTC gain.
all right, time for a quick knowledge check. Remind me what those metrics are all about again.
All right. So BTC yield, that measures how effectively they're growing their Bitcoin holdings per share,
Per share.
even if the price of Bitcoin itself doesn't move.
Gotcha.
It's a measure of their treasury management skills.
Okay.
BTC gain, on the other hand, quantifies the Bitcoin they're accumulating through those savvy capital market maneuvers, like the strike preferred stock offering we talked about.
So even if Bitcoin's price decides to take a breather, they can still expand their holdings through strategic financial plays.
That's exactly right. They have a secret weapon,
They do.
and they're not afraid to use it. And get this, for 2025, they're aiming for a 15% BTC yield and a whopping $10 billion in BTC dollar gain.
Whoa. Those are some seriously ambitious goals. It'll be interesting to see if they can pull it off. They're swinging for the fences.
They are. It's going to be fun to watch.
For sure.
Yeah. Welcome back to Talk Tickers. We're continuing our deep dive into Strategy's Q4 2024 earnings call.
Yeah, still trying to wrap our heads around this company, formerly known as MicroStrategy, fully embracing this title of Bitcoin Treasury Company.
It's a title that they proudly claimed last quarter.
Yeah.
What they're doing is truly unique. You know, they're operating as a public company, but they've chosen Bitcoin as their primary treasury reserve asset.
It's like they're swapping out that traditional vault filled with dollars and bonds
Right.
for one overflowing with Bitcoin.
Precisely. And they're using a whole arsenal of techniques to amass this Bitcoin treasure trove. Equity and debt financing cash flow from their software operations, even leveraging.
And they're not afraid to use leverage,
No, they are not.
all in the name of maximizing their Bitcoin holdings.
That's right.
Speaking of maximizing, they've raised a staggering $31 billion
It's a lot of money.
and poured it all into Bitcoin. Talk about putting your money where your mouth is.
They're all in.
Remember their audacious 21-21 plan that they announced last quarter?
Oh, yeah.
Their goal was to raise $42 billion over 3 years.
Split evenly between equity and fixed income to fuel their Bitcoin ambitions.
And they've already secured a hefty chunk of that equity
You
target.
have.
It's mind-boggling how quickly they're moving. What's next on their agenda for 2025?
Well, this year they're going to shift their focus to raising capital through fixed income securities
Okay.
like convertible notes and preferred stock.
Yeah.
But don't worry, they'll continue to seize opportunities for equity offerings if they come up,
Good.
while maintaining a healthy debt coverage ratio.
Smart. So more strategic maneuvering in the financial markets, more clever leverage, more Bitcoin. But what does this all mean for the everyday investor who's along for this wild ride?
That's where those new performance metrics come in.
Yeah.
BTC yield and BTC dollar gain.
Those terms came up earlier.
Yes.
Mind giving us a quick refresher on what they're all about?
Absolutely. So BTC yield is all about measuring how effectively they're growing their Bitcoin holdings per share.
Okay.
Even if Bitcoin's price stays relatively flat, it's a gauge of their Bitcoin treasury management prowess.
So a high BTC yield basically means they're doing a stellar job at growing their Bitcoin per share, regardless of the market's ups and downs.
Exactly. And then we have BTC gain, which quantifies the actual Bitcoin they're accumulating through those shrewd capital market activities we discussed.
Like their innovative convertible note offerings.
That's right.
So even if Bitcoin's price decides to take a breather, they can still expand their holdings through these strategic financial plays.
You got it. It's like they have a secret weapon.
They do.
They're not just placing bets, they're actively shaping the game.
I love that analogy.
And they've set some pretty audacious targets for 2025, a minimum of 15% BTC yield and a whopping $10 billion in BTC dollar gain.
Those are some big numbers. It sounds like they've got a master plan brewing. But are these just pie-in-the-sky numbers, or do they have a concrete strategy to reach these ambitious goals?
They're not just throwing darts at a board.
Okay.
They plan to continue exploring those lucrative capital market transactions and tapping into new sources of capital. Their ATM program, combined with other financing methods, will be key in their quest to hit those targets.
This laser focus on Bitcoin is truly remarkable. They're operating on a completely different level than your average publicly traded company.
They're pioneers. They're forging a new path in the world of corporate finance. It's a bold strategy, and whether it ultimately pays off in the long run is still up for debate.
It definitely is. Now let's shift gears and address the potential roadblocks they might encounter. Michael Saylor brought up a big one during the call: the looming threat of taxes on unrealized capital gains.
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
That could throw a wrench in their whole operation, right?
It could, but here's the interesting part. They don't seem too fazed by it.
Really? Why not? It seems like a ticking time bomb.
Well, they've been proactively engaging with the IRS and lawmakers lobbying against such a tax. They argue that there isn't widespread support for tax and unrealized gains on crypto assets, especially for large corporations.
So they're fighting back,
They are.
while simultaneously preparing for the worst-case scenario.
Exactly. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket. If such a tax were to come into effect, they view it as a second-order impact, something they can manage.
So it might slow them down a bit, but not derail their overall Bitcoin Express train?
That's their perspective. Their core business model hinges on exploiting the difference between the cost of capital in traditional markets and the higher volatility and potential returns of Bitcoin.
Okay.
They believe that even with a tax on unrealized gains, that arbitrage opportunity will persist.
So they're basically making a calculated gamble that Bitcoin's returns will outpace any potential government bite. It's a risky bet, but they seem confident in their assessment.
It is a risky bet, but they've done their homework.
Now let's move beyond taxes and talk about another inherent risk to their strategy: Bitcoin's infamous volatility.
Volatility, the double-edged sword.
The double-edged sword of volatility.
Exactly.
Earlier, we discussed how they're leveraging it to their advantage, but what happens if Bitcoin takes a nosedive?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is?
If Bitcoin's price were to plummet, Strategy's balance sheet would undoubtedly take a hit.
Okay.
And that could trigger a domino effect of negative consequences.
Okay, let's play out that worst-case scenario. What kind of damage are we talking about here?
Well, it could lead to margin calls on their loans, force them to sell Bitcoin at a loss to cover those calls,
Oof, that's not good.
or even impact their ability to raise capital in the future. Remember, their stock price is highly correlated with Bitcoin's price.
Yeah.
So a major Bitcoin dip would likely send their shares tumbling as well.
So they're walking a tightrope. It seems like they've built a robust capital structure and have a variety of tools to manage these risks, but it's still a precarious situation.
Absolutely. They're fully aware of the risks involved, and they seem to have a well-thought-out plan to navigate the inevitable ups and downs of the Bitcoin market.
Yeah.
Only time will tell if their strategy can weather the storm.
This is like a financial thriller unfolding in real time.
It is.
MicroStrategy, or should I say strategy, is pushing the boundaries of corporate finance and challenging conventional wisdom at every turn.
It's definitely a bold experiment, and whether you're a Bitcoin enthusiast or a skeptic, you can't deny that it's captivating to watch this unfold.
It's like watching a high-stakes poker game where the chips are made of Bitcoin. Their journey is far from over, and we'll be watching closely to see what their next move is. Now let's shift our attention to Michael Saylor's outlook on the Bitcoin market in 2025. He painted a pretty optimistic picture, didn't he?
He did. He sees a confluence of positive factors converging to create a favorable environment for Bitcoin.
Like what? Give us the inside scoop on what's fueling his optimism.
Well, he's particularly enthusiastic about the evolving regulatory landscape. He believes the focus on establishing clear guidelines for digital assets will ultimately benefit Bitcoin in the long run.
Hold on, isn't that counterintuitive? I thought Bitcoin was all about being decentralized and free from regulations.
It seems paradoxical, but Saylor believes clear regulations will actually attract more institutional investors, who are currently hesitant due to the lack of regulatory clarity. This influx of institutional money, he argues, will be a major catalyst for Bitcoin's growth. He's also excited about the continued evolution of Bitcoin ETFs.
Well, wait, don't we already have Bitcoin ETFs? What more is he expecting?
Well, he anticipates enhancements to existing ETFs, like in-kind creator deem mechanisms, which would make them more efficient and appealing to institutional investors. He also foresees the emergence of new ETFs offering different types of Bitcoin exposure, giving investors more options to tailor their portfolios.
More options, more liquidity, more adoption. It's a chain reaction. What else is on his Bitcoin optimism radar?
He sees encouraging signs in the banking sector. He believes banks are gradually becoming more receptive to Bitcoin, partly thanks to regulatory changes like the repeal of SAB 121, which discouraged banks from engaging in crypto-related activities.
So less fear from banks, more adoption from institutions, and a more welcome and regulatory environment that's a trifecta of bullish signals for Bitcoin.
And let's not forget about the growing corporate adoption of Bitcoin. Saylor believes more companies will follow MicroStrategies, now strategies lead, and start adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets.
It's like a snowball effect. As more companies jump on board, it creates a sense of legitimacy and encourages others to follow suit. So all in all, Saylor is painting a pretty rosy picture for Bitcoin's future.
He believes all these factors combined will lead to increased awareness, adoption, and investment in Bitcoin in the coming year.
It's refreshing to hear such optimism from someone who's been so deeply entrenched in the Bitcoin world for so long. But let's not forget that predicting the future is a tricky business, especially when it comes to something as unpredictable as Bitcoin.
Absolutely. We'll have to wait and see how these trends play out, but it's certainly an exciting time to be following the Bitcoin space.
Now let's circle back to strategy, the company that's boldly leading this Bitcoin revolution. Saylor outlined their strategy going forward, and it sounds like they have no intention of slowing down. In fact, they're doubling down on their approach.
They're not resting on their laurels, that's for sure. They have a multi-pronged strategy to continue leveraging Bitcoin and drive in shareholder value.
Break it down for us. What are the key pillars of this audacious strategy?
Their primary objective is to establish MSTR as the high-leverage, high-volatility equity play in the Bitcoin ecosystem.
Okay.
They're embracing that roller coaster ride and inviting investors to join them.
So if you're an adrenaline junkie looking for the ultimate Bitcoin thrill ride, MSTR is your ticket.
You got it. They'll continue to leverage their expertise in convertible bond strategies, preferred stock offerings, and other opportunistic capital market maneuvers to amplify returns for their investors. They're not afraid to take risks, and then believe those risks will ultimately translate into substantial rewards.
They've become masters of the capital markets, expertly pulling financial levers to achieve their goals. What else is on their agenda for world Bitcoin domination?
Their convertible debt strategy will continue to play a crucial role.
Okay.
They'll strategically refinance existing debt instruments and issue new convertible bonds to create that intelligent leverage we talked about earlier.
They're constantly optimizing their debt structure, staying one step ahead in the convertible bond game. It's like a financial chess match, and they're grandmasters.
And then there's Strike, their new convertible preferred stock with that tempting 8% dividend yield.
Ah, yes. Strike. Who are they hoping to attract with this new offering?
Well, Strike is designed to appeal to investors who want exposure to Bitcoin,
Okay.
but prefer a slightly smoother ride compared to their common stock. It's a less volatile and less leveraged option
Makes sense.
for those who want to dip their toes into the Bitcoin waters without diving headfirst.
It's a brilliant way to broaden their investor base and cater to a wider range of risk appetites. It's like they have a custom-tailored Bitcoin investment vehicle for everyone.
Exactly. They've been incredibly strategic in designing their capital structure. They have offerings for investors seeking high volatility and leverage, as well as those who prefer lower risk and steady income. And they're constantly monitoring market conditions to determine the most accretive way to raise capital.
They've got a knack for reading the markets and knowing when to play which card. But this raises a crucial question. How sustainable is this strategy in the long run? Can they really keep defying gravity and outperforming the market indefinitely?
That, my friend, is the question of the century.
It's a cliffhanger. We'll have to wait and see how this grand Bitcoin experiment unfolds. One thing's for sure. Strategy is not afraid to break the mold and challenge the status quo. And that's what makes them such a captivating story to follow.
They're a shining example of innovation and disruption in the world of finance. It's a reminder that even in a world dominated by giants, there's always room for those who dare to challenge the rules.
Now, before we wrap up part 2 of this deep dive, we need to talk about one more crucial element of Strategy's approach: their unwavering commitment to transparency.
They've gone above and beyond to provide investors with real-time insights into their performance. They're pulling back the curtain and letting everyone see what's happening behind the scenes.
Their new website, strategy.com, is a testament to that. It's like a live dashboard for all things strategy.
It's packed with key metrics and financial data, all updated in real time. They're tracking their performance against major assets and indices, providing in-depth analysis of their convertible bonds, and even sharing detailed information about their options trading activity. They're leaving no stone unturned when it comes to transparency.
This level of transparency is practically unheard of in the corporate world.
They're setting a new standard for how companies should communicate with their investors. It's a breath of fresh air in a world often shrouded in secrecy and opaqueness.
It's refreshing to see such a commitment to openness. It builds trust and empowers investors to make informed decisions.
And it demonstrates their confidence in their strategy. They're not hiding anything. They're laying it all out there for the world to see, warts and all.
Well, this deep dive into Strategy's Q4 2024 earnings call has been an exhilarating roller coaster ride. We've explored everything from their rebranded and bold Bitcoin strategy to their capital market mastery and radical transparency.
It's a company that defies easy categorization. They're a software company, a Bitcoin treasury company, a capital market innovator, and a beacon of transparency all rolled into one. It's a unique and potent cocktail.
It's hard to keep up with all their twists and turns, but it's certainly an exciting journey to follow. Now, get ready for the grand finale. In Part 3, we'll wrap up this epic saga with some final thoughts and explore the broader implications of Strategy's approach for the financial landscape. Welcome back to Talk Takers for the grand finale of our deep dive into Strategy's Q4 2024 earnings call.
It has been quite the journey, hasn't it?
It really has.
Filled with twists and turns and surprises.
Yeah, but let's take a step back and try to make sense of it all. What does Strategy's unconventional approach mean for the future of finance?
I mean, that's a big question.
They've completely rewritten the rules of corporate treasury management, haven't they? It's like they took the traditional playbook, tossed it out the window,
And they ripped it up.
and embraced a Bitcoin-centric strategy that thrives on volatility and leverage.
Yeah, it's a radical departure from the norm, that's for sure. You know, they're forcing everyone from seasoned investors to Wall Street analysts
Right.
to rethink how they evaluate companies.
They've certainly turned heads with their success so far.
They have.
But the big question is, can other companies replicate what Strategy is doing? Is this the start of a new trend?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Strategy has a unique set of circumstances that has allowed them to embark on this path.
So what makes them so special? What sets them apart from the pack?
Well, for starters, they have Michael Saylor at the helm.
Right.
A CEO with a clear vision and an unwavering belief in Bitcoin's potential. He's been a vocal advocate for Bitcoin from the early days,
Yeah,
and he's put his company's money where his mouth is.
he's not just talking the talk, he's walking the walk.
Exactly. And it's not just about having a visionary leader. They also have a solid foundation to support their bold bets.
Okay.
Their profitable software business provides a steady stream of cash flow, so they're not solely reliant on Bitcoin's success.
All right, it's like having a safety net while performing a high-wire act.
That's a great analogy.
And let's not forget their capital markets prowess. I mean, they've raised billions of dollars
They have.
to fuel their Bitcoin ambitions, demonstrating a level of financial sophistication that's rare to find.
Yeah. It takes a unique blend of vision, execution, and a bit of luck to pull off what they've done. Not every company has the leadership, the resources, or the risk tolerance to follow in Strategy's footsteps.
So while we might not see a sudden stampede of companies rushing to adopt Bitcoin as their primary treasury asset, Strategy's bold experiment could inspire more companies to explore innovative and unconventional approaches to corporate finance.
Yeah, they're pushing the boundaries and opening up new possibilities.
Yeah.
It's like they've cracked open a door to a whole new world of financial strategies.
And they've put Bitcoin on the radar of institutional investors who might have previously dismissed it as too risky or speculative.
Absolutely. Their inclusion in the NASDAQ Q100 is a clear signal that Bitcoin is gaining acceptance in mainstream finance. It's no longer a fringe asset. It's a force to be reckoned with.
But let's not get carried away by the hype. It's important to acknowledge the potential risks too. We've discussed the regulatory uncertainty surrounding Bitcoin and the possibility of taxes on unrealized gains.
Yeah, those are real concerns.
And the inherent volatility of Bitcoin itself can't be ignored. If the price were to crash, Strategy's balance sheet would take a significant hit. They're playing a high-stakes game.
They are. It's a high-risk, high-reward strategy.
But so far, it's paid off handsomely for Strategy and its investors.
It has.
It'll be fascinating to see if they can sustain this remarkable performance over the long term. Are they riding a wave that will eventually crash, or have they discovered a new paradigm for corporate finance? Only time will tell.
It's nail-biter for sure.
One thing's for sure. They're not afraid to challenge the status quo
No.
and take risks. That's what makes them such a compelling story to follow. They're pioneers, trailblazers, and disruptors all rolled into one.
They are a fascinating case study in how to shake things up in the financial world.
Now it's time for everyone's favorite segment. This is not financial advice.
The disclaimer is key.
But if you were feeling particularly daring after this earnings call,
Yeah?
what outrageous but plausible trade idea might come to mind?
Well, given Strategy's unwavering conviction in Bitcoin's continued ascent and their penchant for leverage, a bold investor might consider a long call option on MSTR.
So basically betting that their stock price will soar if Bitcoin continues its upward trajectory?
Precisely. But a word of caution. Options trading is inherently risky, and this particular trade would be highly leveraged and speculative.
Definitely not for the faint of heart. But for those who share Strategy's vision and believe in Bitcoin's long-term potential, it might be a tempting gamble.
Just remember, folks, this is purely hypothetical, a
About
quest
the-
for entertainment purposes only. Do your own research, understand the risks involved, and never invest more than you can afford to lose.
Wise words to live by. And on that note, this concludes our deep dive into Strategy's Q4 2024 earnings call. It's been an exhilarating journey,
It really has.
and we can't wait to see what the future holds for this innovative and disruptive company. Stay tuned for more insightful deep dives from Talk Tickers.
Until next time, happy investing.